Spanish-American War, fought between April and August 1898, was a brief but important conflict that transformed the United States into an imperial power. While the clash resulted from American support for Cubans and Filipinos fighting for independence from Spain, American business interests and an act of Spanish aggression also played a role. Spain and the United States had long shared an interest in Cuba. The island had been Spain's colony since 1492 and was a prized source of sugar. By the late 19th century, American businesses had invested $50 million in Cuban sugar production. In 1895, Cubans began their War of Independence against Spain, which insurgents waged mostly by destroying valuable sugar-producing properties. In retaliation, Spanish troops brutally rounded up Cubans and placed them in what they called reconcentration camps. The American press reported that thousands died while living in horrific conditions. Thus, despite the destruction of American property, most Americans sympathized with Cubans' desire for independence. To reassure American businesses and the American public, President William McKinley sent the battleship USS Maine to patrol the harbor of Havana, Cuba's main port. On February 15, 1898, the battleship exploded, killing 268 people. The cause of the explosion was never determined, but Americans assumed Spain was responsible. The Yellow Press, newspapers that used sensationalism to attract readers, printed inflammatory headlines about the crisis, accusing Spain of treachery. "Remember the Maine, to hell with Spain," became a rallying cry. The conflict began 2 months later on April 25, 1898, when the United States declared war against Spain. American forces quickly outmaneuvered Spain's military, and 4 months later, Spain sued for peace. Described as a splendid little war by Secretary of State John Hay, the Spanish-American War formally ended on December 10, 1898, when the Treaty of Paris was signed. The war had several major outcomes. Spain agreed to dismantle the last of its empire, granting Cuba independence and ceding control of Puerto Rico and Guam to the United States. On the other hand, the war transformed the United States into an imperial power. Once a British colony, the young nation now exercised influence over and responsibility for the countries under its control. Behaving like an imperial power, the United States recognized the value of the Philippines' close proximity to China and paid $20 million to annex the islands. Unfortunately, this purchase also bought the United States the Filipinos' war for independence. Filipino nationalists, led by Emilio Aguinaldo, resisted the United States from 1899 to 1902 in the Philippine-American War. Aguinaldo stated Filipino grievances in an open letter to the American people, and the prolonged, bloody conflict gave many Americans a distaste for imperialism.